So I just spent all of last night and the rest of this morning watching the new Baki season, and we gotta talk about it. First of all, I need you guys to know that Baki, for me, is a series that almost more than any other anime makes me want to work out. Like, it makes me want to go to the gym more. It makes me want to get stronger. I'm sitting there like Jack Hanma, kicking the punching bag, wanting to piss myself. That is me when I watch Baki. Like, I just sit there and I just think about all the possibilities that my human body could possibly uphold if I put in the work, if I put in the effort and the training. Even before the season dropped, I knew it came out yesterday, but I had my leg day in the morning and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an extra set of squats just because that's what Baki would want me to do, So that is what Baki is to me, man. Nothing really sparks that kind of inner masculinity of just wanting all the power and strength that you can possibly have. And the other thing about Baki that I find endlessly fascinating as a series is that it really is a series that takes actual legitimate real life concepts when it comes to fighting, whether it comes to the martial arts or boxing or just how people react to things or how our brains respond to particular signals that happen when we're in fear and danger, when the adrenaline spikes. There's all of these real life attributes that are in Baki, but it's just taken and exaggerated to the point of ridiculousness, right? So like you watch Baki from like a distance and you just think it's all over the top and all of it is just stupid and nonsensical and they're just giant jacked muscular men grappling each other. But that's what I need in my life. I need like big masculine men to grapple me. But when you break it down and you step back, there is a lot of real life fighting concepts that are actually within the Baki series, even in this season in particular, where it talked about like the slapping technique, right? How it hurts of more of an expanded area and could hurt more people because of just kind of the looseness of it. Or the fact that, if you concentrate your blow not on like a full fist to the face, but you do it just on the knuckle, how that can cause more damage. Or even if it's Katsumi practicing the mind over matter, imagining himself having triple the amount of joints in his body than he actually does in order to push himself further and punch even stronger. All of these things are in one aspect fantasy, but also there is like underlying truth to them that the story takes and then just exemplifies, right? Now, this particular season of Baki has been hyped up quite a bit, and I will be honest with you guys, I have read some of the Baki manga, but the last two seasons of Baki for sure are past where I've read in the manga, and it is one of those manga that is extremely long. It's like a Hajime no Ippo or something like that just is like an endless amount of chapters. So, someday I'll get back into it, but I haven't quite gotten to it yet. But I've heard various things about the character Pickle for many, many years. All right. So I knew a lot about Pickle before he showed up in the anime, even though I haven't read his segment in the manga. So this was a pretty hyped up season. Not to mention the fact that this season came out about a year and a half after the last one, and there was posters for it, there was a trailer, and then there was like 6 months of silence. We really didn't know when it was going to be released, but now it's finally here, and we have the Pickle arc. All right, and Pickle is the greatest name for a character ever. Pickle is essentially a primitive man. All right, so there's a ton of characters in Baki that are so ridiculously strong that practice a wide variety of martial arts, all the way from boxing to kung fu, karate, just street fighting, the Yakuza, all that kind of stuff. But Pickle is a different, he's a different, he's built different, okay? He's legitimately, actually physiologically built different, okay? So Pickle is from the Stone Age, all right? So I guess Baki is confirming that there were human beings back when dinosaurs existed, or at least a couple of them, because Pickle existed, all right? And back in those days, there wasn't anybody that could fight Pickle, and Pickle wasn't interested in fighting per se. He was more of going after dinosaurs for his prey to eat them. So the man would literally fight dinosaurs with his bare hands and feet, kill them, and then eat them, all right? And a lot of things about Pickle in this season is the fact that he likes to eat things, and that is his prime motivation for fighting, because the major difference in this season with the characters is that Pickle is not a trained fighter. He doesn't have martial arts. He existed in a time before martial arts ever even existed. So his method of fighting is literally just trying to kill shit. Like, it's just him being a primitive caveman, you know, using his massive size and strength and speed in order to take down something. But there's no particular techniques or skills involved with what he does. It's just his pure, you know, primitive, primal survival instincts, right? So he really is like the actual Liver King, right? Primals. Like this, like Pickle, you know, doesn't need steroids, right? So Pickle gets found and frozen in a block of ice, and he is unthawed and brought into the future, and Pickle does not speak. He doesn't know any languages, all right? So we don't get any sort of dialogue from him. We get a little bit of narration about what he's feeling, but we don't get inner monologue or anything like that. So it's pretty much just the narrator telling us how it's the first time Pickle, you know, sensed these things that are in front of him, this technological world where he wakes up in this facility and nothing is similar to how he's perceived it before. He's used to seeing trees and grass in the sky, and he wakes up in this scientific laboratory where he doesn't really know anything that he's looking at. Like, everything is foreign to him, right? And he's basically just motivated by his instincts, which is to feed and also to, well, he finds a female reporter in the second episode and goes to give her a hug. Listen, he comes from a different time, all right? He didn't know any better. But the influence and word of his strength gets out there to the fighters in the Baki world, and everybody shows up to see him. I really love the episode where every character sneaks into the facility in order to see him. Like, you have Sea King Retsu, who sneaks in, and there's a guard walking around, and he goes behind the guard and like mimics his movements as the guard is walking. He's walking like literally 1 inch behind the guard, like mimicking his movements so the guard can't tell that he's there. It's just like, oh my god, it's so ridiculous. But when he shows up, everyone is here to meet with Pickle, including Yujiro Hanma. Now, I don't know how far Pickle goes in the manga past this point, but I'd say one of the things in this season that I was expecting a little bit more of was a little bit more of an interaction between Yujiro and Pickle, because Yujiro is obviously, you know, always has been and is world renowned to be the strongest man on Earth, the most powerful man on Earth. So it makes sense that Yujiro would go see Pickle, but they request that he leave him alone, and he actually obliges, which is interesting. And after that, Yujiro seems a little bit more interested in having Baki fight Pickle, saying that, you know, that's more of like his destiny. So I don't know if Yujiro was legitimately looking at this as something that's not worth his time, or if he actually just wanted Baki to rise up to the challenge, because if Baki is able to defeat Pickle, it gives more legitimacy for Yujiro to fight Baki. But there are basically 4 characters that get to have their one-on-one with Pickle throughout this season. The first one is Sea King Retsu, who agrees to let himself be eaten as prey if he loses his fight with Pickle. And he goes into this and actually, you know, thinking about all 4 fights that happen, I don't know if his might have actually been my favorite. He is going on basically technique, right, and style. Like, he's going on, you know, 4,000 years of kung fu. And Pickle, who has no training whatsoever, that is just pure survival instincts, is just beating the fuck out of him. And Pickle actually eats his opponents, and it's not a figure of speech. Like, he rips off this man's leg and eats it. But I also do have to mention, since this is the anime version, I don't want to talk about just the story alone. We got to talk about the animation. And I will say that the animation in this season is very stunted. Now, the Baki series on Netflix, once it went to Netflix, you know, it's always been low budget, and it's always been kind of still imagery, you know, where there's not a lot of movement and articulation. It's a lot of like panning, and it's a lot of singular shots of characters standing, and when they fight, there's only a few movements. And part of that works because the way that the fights are done in the manga, you know, it's very close-up shots of specific particular moves that are being done. It's not really meant to be flashy. Like, it's not meant to be like a Dragon Ball Z fight or something where like characters are moving at super speeds. They are moving really fast, but Baki is a little bit more of explaining the actual fighting and technique. It's more about explaining how the fist moves and where it connects and why connecting in that area is so devastating and things of that nature. So it's a lot more focused on explaining the specifics of the fight rather than just saying characters are fighting really fast. So in a way, the stunted animation works for Baki, but it is noticeable. And the last season was the prison arc, where Baki purposely went to prison in order for him to fight Biscuit, which I loved. And actually, again, I haven't read the manga past this point, but like I actually kind of like the last season more. I kind of like the Baki in prison arc a lot. I don't know what that says about me, but I just really enjoyed that. So yeah, I like the last season a little bit better, and I thought the animation in the last season was also a little bit better. But the story of this one was still pretty awesome. Now, the second fight is between Pickle and Katsumi, and I really enjoyed this too because it focused a lot on the training aspects of the character, and I've always been a sucker for training montages. You know, I love the Rocky films. I love whenever there's a extended sequence of a character training. Hell, I mean, watching characters train is what motivated me when I was younger to even start doing martial arts or working out at all. It all comes from anime. So I don't care how fucking nerdy that is, how stupid that is. The entire reason I even started training when I was a kid was because of anime. So I love these extended training sequences, and talking about how he's trying to like focus and imagine himself having multiple joints, or more joints that he actually does, to gain the force in order to like break the speed of sound, or basically break the sound barrier the same way like a whip would or a bullet would when it crashes through the air, just to make those ripple effects happen, but do it through his physical body. Again, there's like ideas there that might be prevalent in martial arts, but like then it's exaggerated. But I love the whole sequence of it. I love the entire training montage of it. I thought it was great. And then you have Jack Hanma, all right? Yujiro Hanma's other son, who has gone through an intense amount of body augmentation over the course of his life, lengthening his limbs, which as a 5'5" guy, you know, I can sympathize with. He's also done a ton of steroids. He's also trained so hard that he pissed himself. And you know what? I understand that, right? And Jack Hanma, he has disavowed himself from every pleasure of life so that he could focus on strength. Like, he doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about women. He doesn't care about fame or fortune. He doesn't care about being an influencer. He doesn't care about anything except his own strength. So coming up against Pickle was something that was very, very important for him, because Pickle basically represents pure, authentic, primal strength, right? And they had this touching moment where they kiss each other, and I just really wish I had a bro that I could do this with. Jack gets his jaw ripped off, okay, and fails miserably after that. But I love the moment where after Jack gets knocked out, where he sort of instinctively trained himself to like attack immediately, and they liken it to after you kill a wasp, because Pickle killed a wasp one time and went to eat it, but the stinger still stung him even after he was dead. And Jack is there unconscious, and he sensed the same thing from Jack as he sensed from the wasp. Like, if he touches him, he's going to like instinctively strike. So I really, really like that. I thought that was cool. And then, of course, the final segment of the season is going Baki against Pickle. And this was a really, really good fight. It meant a lot, I think, for Baki's character in particular. But for some reason, I just didn't like it as much as the Baki versus Biscuit fight from the end of the last season. And I can't really explain why. There's just something about it that didn't quite resonate with me as hard as the other fights did. But I still thought it was very enjoyable. You know, Baki kind of teaches Pickle, because up until that point, everyone was basically fighting him to the death. Like, fighting him, like, Pickle viewed everybody as his prey that he was just going to eat. But Baki sort of, without communication and communicating through fighting, not verbally, kind of showed him that you can fight just for fun, right? That you can fight to better yourself. You can fight to test yourself against somebody else. You can fight to see how powerful you actually are as a person. And that there's a lot of aspects to fighting that aren't just killing, which I thought is also a really good message. And something to kind of to think about and to ponder on, especially for a character like Pickle that is just, again, not a trained fighter, just somebody that's like tearing dinosaurs apart to survive. And shockingly, even though I believe Baki has the upper hand towards the latter half of the fight, in the final moment, I think it just came down to pure strength and stamina, and Baki was knocked out and Pickle just kind of sat there, but not knocked out. So essentially, Pickle won the fight. I don't know for the power scaling of Baki where you would rank all of the characters, right? Or the characters that we've seen so far in the anime. I don't know how strong Pickle is in comparison to Yujiro, because we don't actually get to have that moment. But I think in the last season they were talking about how Biscuit was essentially like the next strongest, right? And Baki was able to defeat him. So I'm just assuming. I'm just like ballparking because I don't really know. So manga readers can correct me. But I think I would go, it's Yujiro, then Pickle, then Baki at this point. Is this correct? Somebody correct me. Overall, I really enjoyed this season. Now, did it live up to the hype? I'm not really sure. I really did like the Pickle character, and just I like kind of bringing it back to, you know, the caveman, the primal man era. I kind of like that, and I like juxtaposing that against all of these techniques and martial arts and people that have trained a really long time, where Pickle is just like, Pickle is just Pickle, man. He's just doing what he does, right? The other characters have something to prove. Pickle is just like, hey, I'm just here, man. So out of the Netflix Baki series, I don't know where I would rank this. It wouldn't be as ranked highly as the last tournament or the prison arc, in my opinion. Maybe slightly better than the escaped convicts arc. But there is also, so if you're new to Baki, there is 2 seasons that were made in the 90s that I don't know if they're streaming anywhere. I think you can just find them on YouTube, and canonically they come first. So there's Baki the Grappler, which had 2 seasons, and then there was like almost 2 decades of no Baki, and then Netflix picked it up. So the Baki series has 3 seasons, and now we're on Baki Hanma, which has now 2 seasons. I know, it's really confusing, but it is following the manga accurately, so what can you say? Anyways, guys, if you guys have watched the new season of Baki Hanma, let me know what you think about it down below. What did you think about the Pickle arc? And manga readers, how did you feel about the adaptation? Was it worth it? Was it not so good? Did the animation quality stunt it too much for you? Let me know all that in the comments below. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Give the video a thumbs up and a comment to help it in the algorithm. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have a Patreon, channel memberships, merch store, all that linked down below, as well as the various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, I'm going to go, train. I'm going to go lift some weights and piss myself because I want to be like Jack Hanma.